Hi, welcome in Line by Line. Today with Manuel, we are discussing a song from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend TV show called Put Yourself First. And I picked that song because we wanted to discuss the previous song, Self-Esteem by Offspring. And that one was a condition from Manuel.
Yeah, she put herself first in this one. So put yourself first, girl. Worry about yourself. Make yourself sexy just for yourself. So when dudes see you, you put yourself first. They'll be like, damn, you're hot. Want to make out?
Push them boobs up just for yourself. Wear 6-inch heels just for yourself. If it's just for myself, should not I be comfortable? No, put yourself first in a sexy way.
Pierce your ears just for yourself. Put a hole in your earlobe just for yourself. Brace yourself. This is gonna hurt. Put yourself first in a sexy way.
Put yourself first, girl. Worry about yourself. Wear fake eyelids just for yourself. So when the dude see you put yourself first, he will be like, damn, you're hot. Let's buy a house in Portland.
Put yourself first for him. That's what you gotta do. Put yourself first for him.
If I put myself first for him, then by definition, aren't I putting myself second? Don't think about it too hard, too hard. Don't think about too hard, too hard. It's a wormhole. It's a Möbius strip. It's a snake. Its tail is the infinity sign.
Get a tattoo of the infinity sign on your lower back, just for yourself.
But I can see my lower back. Also, can we go back to the fake eyelids?
Is that a thing now?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome to that worldview. Let's discuss it.
Yeah. Put yourself first, girl. Worry about yourself. Make yourself sexy, just for yourself. So when dudes see you, put yourself first. They'll be like, damn, you're hot. Want to make out.
Okay, let's unpack that. Put yourself first and worry about yourself. Is that compatible in one sentence? If you worry about yourself, you have to put yourself first.
Yeah, it's being assertive, right? Like it's like make yourself the center so that you can receive from others, right? Like so that it's already like really narcissistic in a sense, right? Where it's like everything has to revolve around you.
I just like if she does it, make yourself sexy so that dude wants to make out with you. Like, is it really for her? Like, is it really she putting herself first? Damn, you're hot, wanna make out.
Yeah, so
like the main motivation in here would be for her to get dudes to make out with her. Aren't that what like would have happened without making her sexy?
Well, I don't know. I think there's man, I'm going to use the word self-esteem here, which is horrible.
Yes, you should. Nice plug. Go check out our previous video.
but yeah, like there's an issue there where it's like how do I get my validation, right? Like how do I know that I'm doing the right thing? Like what's the way that I can receive feedback of the world that I'm valuable? Because I think that's what she's looking for, right? She wants to be valued, and the making out is a way of someone else saying, well, you're valuable to me, right? Like I want to put my tongue in you.
So hold on. So what, if I understand this worldview correctly, the girl wants to, the girls want to make out or receive validation, and for that they're making themselves sexy.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's a guy who wrote
well,
like, it's very hard for me to imagine that worldview.
Well, I think a lot of women have this sense, right, where they're, when they're receiving attention, they feel validated, right? And well, what's the way to receive attention as a woman? Well, you stand out, right? Like, and when you get picked over the other women, right? Like now you're special, right? Like, and so if you don't have a way to generate self-worth, right? Like without other people, then you have to make yourself sexy in order to be validated, right? So in some sense, like you're dependent upon others for yourself, for your self-image.
Making out is the currency of it. Like how much valuable I am is by the amount of people who want to make out with me.
Right.
So but
which is really really sad in a way, right? Like it's really materialistic. It's not looking at the quality of the guy or whatever, right? It's looking at whether the
guy's just
they're interested
dudes.
in you. Yeah.
Like the gray mass of dudes. Okay, I want a question to you connected to that. Is it making out part related to being sexy, or is sexy, that kind of way of being, is something that guys just see as a signal that she wants to make out? Like, what comes first here?
Well, yeah. So what I'm thinking of when I read that, it's like being in a club, right, or in a bar, right? So when you're in a bar and you're standing in a place, right, you're making yourself sexy, right, and then like you're in a place where people pass by, so they have to see you, right? Like, so in some sense you're signaling at that point, right? Like, okay, I'm available, right? Like here's my meat, like that's the meat, right? Like if you like it, then I'm up, right? And then you're effectively inviting people to approach you and to relate to you as the way that you present yourself.
Okay, but what if she does it for herself? Like, but not for the guys to make out. Let's imagine there is no last part. What if the girl just likes, for some reason, a feeling of, I don't know, the fake eyelids are not yet here. What if she just likes to move around in a sexy way, but
well, she doesn't have to make out. But she doesn't have to make out, right? Like she can just stand there and the guy comes up at her and say no, right? Like there's plenty of women who do that, right? Like they just want the guy to go up to them.
Currency.
Yeah, like they just want the validation, but they're like scared of the guy, or even
I don't
worse,
think they're
right?
scared. Like if I understand from what you're saying correctly, I think they just want to see how sexy they are by the amount of people coming over. And
Right,
they're not
yeah,
scared, they just don't give a shit about the guys themselves, like at all. They just want the attention.
yeah, like I don't think scared is the good word, but like in some sense they're despising the guys, right? Like they're not they're not respecting them for coming at them, right? But they still want the attention, right? So there's this tension there.
What do you think that might be connected to?
Well, so first of all, right, like when you're looking for validation of others, right? Like you have a lack of self-validation, right? And also in your youth, that sense of validation by others was something that was deemed important, right? Like so there's a signal, like maybe your mom acted that way, right? And you unconsciously adopted, like, okay, like in order for men to like me, I need to be beautiful, right? Like so that's like a cultural thing that you can just pick up. And or it's in rebellion, right? Where you're going out and you're in this situation where like the sexuality is really repressed, and then like you get to be free, right? Because you leave the house, and now you can just like let open the floodgates, and you can just tout your sexuality as a tool that you haven't been able to tap into before.
Okay. Push them boobs up just for yourself. Wear 6-inch heels just for yourself. If it's just for myself, shouldn't I be comfortable? No, put yourself first in a sexy way. Yeah. So the message that the girls give to crazy ex-girlfriend, like, let's put it a little bit in the context. So she asks a bunch of girls for advice, and this is the advice she received from a bunch of girls connected to her like problem, and they advise her to put herself first while being sexy, and sexy is the way for her to be first. I think it's take control, like the general idea here. So when you push boobs up, you take control of the male gaze, like it's you appropriate the male gaze, let's say. Like a fancy word. 6-inch heels also appropriate male gaze because it like brings up your foot somehow up. I don't know. Just for yourself. So I think the in between the lines they're saying you have to take control. You have to take control. And then she's like, should not I be comfortable? And the girls, no, you have to put yourself first, but in a sexy way. So reappropriating male gaze is not very comfortable, apparently.
Yeah, so it's interesting that both the boobs are being pushed up and the 6-inch heels are also lifting, right? So there's a sense of getting higher. And the heels have two aspects to them, right? Like one is they accentuate the legs, but they also put you in a more dominant position because you're now
you're
looking
higher,
more
taller.
down onto other people. if you get there, but or you're looking less up.
You're like
and all of this reminds me of this idea, right? Like what happened in the past, right, was nobility put itself separate from the working people, right? And so they were white, they were really white because they didn't have to work in the sun, right? And that's why you could see the blue veins on their skin, right? Like that's where the blue blood comes from. And they also did all other crazy stuff. They put on wigs, they put on hats, right? Like they put on like dresses where they couldn't move, right? Like and if you go to the crazier stuff, it's like they would binding the feet, right? Like there's that, and the corset is also an example where there's all these limitations that they put on themselves to say, like, I can do this, right? Like I'm separate, I'm special, right? Like I can go through this suffering, right?
On
In order to
purpose.
be beautiful.
Not because I have to, but because I want to. It's like
Yes, exactly.
empowerment thing, right? Like people who work in the field, they have to work to feed themselves, but royalty, they put themselves into this very uncomfortable corsets and wear those awful wigs and bind feet or whatever. Like I don't know that, probably in Asia somewhere, but that thing was because they wanted to, and this was a control. We are in control of that. I don't. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, they wanted to feel special, right? And like, how do
Mhm.
you get special, right? Like if you want to be a marathon runner, right? Like you have to go through a whole lot of things in order to be able to do that, right? Like
Mhm.
it that isn't comfortable, right? Like, so if you want to be special, right? Like you always have to suffer for it, right? Like you always have to put in the effort. And being sexy is a way to do that, right? Like that is a way to be special.
Yeah. Like it goes further. It goes through pain now. Pierce your ears just for yourself. Put a hole in your earlobe just for yourself. Press yourself. That's gonna hurt. Yeah.
Yeah, put yourself first in a sexy way.
So
Yeah.
this
So,
is already goes to pain here.
well, yeah, pierce your ears is pain, but put a hole in your earlobe is like mutilation, right? Like now you've done something that's kind of irreversible, right? Like now
Mm-hmm.
you put a sign on yourself.
Yeah, and I think that like, this even did not mention all the plastic surgery that people undergo to look a certain way, but for
Hmm.
themselves, right? Like, so is it a certain power or like reappropriating the male gaze, or is it weakness though? Like this means the way I am doing it is my outside exterior rather than my brain,
Hmm.
because I um, I'm pretty sure you can be beautiful and in the center of attention and get male gaze without undergoing all of that, just by maybe personality, I guess.
Yeah, charisma. Yeah.
Charisma.
And I,
So
I I
is
agree,
that
right?
one for
Like,
girls who don't have charisma?
well, so there's a couple things that stand out to me, right? Like
Mhm.
piercing your ears, like in one group that might have be seen as beautiful, and in another group
Mhm.
like that might be seen as horrible, right? So the fact that you're doing that to yourself is, well, it puts you in a certain group, right? But you don't know how others perceive what you're doing, right? Like you're participating in a fashion, and fashion will change, right? Like, so maybe it might be beautiful now, but in 10 years it might be out of fashion, and then you got this hole in your earlobe, right? So
But
there,
people
there,
live
there
100 years, so.
yeah, but the problem is, right? Like you're dependent upon others appreciating you for the things that you do, right? Like, and they will change their opinion, right? Or you might meet the guy that you really like, and he's not having the opinion that the rest of the people is having, right? And now you're stuck with, and I think the external, right? Like, apart like it's fairly easy to
Mm-hmm.
mutate something, right? Like and like you can see it with liposuction or whatever, right? Like, oh, I don't have to train anymore. Like I don't have to get in shape. I can just like suck out the fat
Then you have a
and then
hole in your body. No?
well, yeah, but the point being, right? Like people are looking for convenient, easy ways to make these changes, right? And when you have to change yourself, that's really hard, right? Like that's way harder than just putting on some makeup or
Uh-huh.
pushing up your boobs.
Mm. Like some people that I have spoken to, I know guys and girls who cannot get out of the house without putting some sort of makeup on themselves.
Mhm.
And I asked why. Like, why can't you just go out and why do you need things on your face? And the answer was, just because you don't think you need it doesn't mean I don't think I need it somehow. Like the
Mhm.
general idea was they need it so badly they cannot get out of the house. And like some girl would wake up, I don't know, an hour earlier than her partner. So then she would like make herself beautiful, then she would like go to bed. And it's like every day.
Mhm.
And that's so that he wakes up to that princess beside him. And I was like, like why? It's how about waking up to a girl who reads? He's waking up and you're like so cute and smelly, but you're reading an interesting book, and he wakes up to that. Isn't that like better?
Well, it depends on the guy and what he values as well, right? But like when I look back to the
Mhm,
past, right? Like you have this idea of putting on your face, right? Where you
mhm,
before you go out, you change who you are, right? So there's a transition, right? Like the way I do it is I put on my coat or whatever, right? Like when I go
mhm,
outside, and now like I'm in a different space, right? And having that transition of like, okay, I'm now going to be a person in public, right? So now you're
mhm,
creating a big distinction between who you are in private and who you are in public, right? And
mhm,
and in some sense that can be really valuable, right? Because like if I have a face on, like I need to take care of it, right? Like I shouldn't like mess it up, right? Because then I
mhm,
look really awkward, right? Like so now you have a way to act, right? Like you have a way to be as a consequence of putting on the face, right? So they can give a sense of security, right? Like you have a
mhm,
role that you can participate in. And if you have insecurity in yourself, right? Like if you don't know how to handle yourself in the social situation, right? Like the fact that you're beautiful allows you a way to relate, right? Like because now these guys come at you and you can just push them away, but now you have something to do. Now you have something to feel secure, right? Like because you right, like you said, like you're asserting yourself instead of that
mhm.
you're being subjected to the situation. So in that sense, I get it. And like even for dinner, right? Like people used to change for dinner, right? Like they put on the dinner clothes and then they put on the after dinner clothes, and like they had dresses for everything.
Mm. Isn't it also like that if a woman puts too much on her face, uh, it's like she has low self-esteem, like she's more approachable therefore. By the way,
Hmm.
is currently now guys scared more of women who have a lot of makeup or scared of women who don't? Because that's the trend I see now in the world. Like guys are being scared of women.
Well, I think it's what you're familiar with, right? Like
Mhm,
when someone puts on makeup, right? Like they're signaling, I want to participate with you in a certain way, right? Like I
mhm,
have certain values, and like I value beauty, right?
mhm,
And when a woman doesn't do that, like she's focusing on other aspects in the relationship, right? So then the question is, well, what do you feel more comfortable with, right? Like, do you want to show off your muscles, or do you want to show off your brain?
I also was thinking about that liposuction thing that earlier you mentioned. Health is the thing that comes to my mind. If you do it through some outside surgery, I don't know, or procedure, then it's not necessarily means that that you are healthy. Like it will give you the illusion, like people who are, let's say, a certain shape, that signals to others their health. And health in general is very attractive. So healthy people. And people who have obesity problem, it's subconsciously already, okay, there is like some visual aspect that I don't like, but there is also possible health problems to that person. And like eating disorders,
right?
eating
like
disorders and everything.
Yeah, exactly. If they can't keep control of their passion, right?
So I think putting yourself first, but here they did not say it, but you can put yourself first and actually take care of your health. And this way you will look good. Like you will not need liposuction if you just like really sportive, if you're running in the morning. I think a girl who is running and listening to music and strongly shaped doesn't need fake eyelids at all, doesn't need to push boobs up or be on high heels. She's already beautiful. Like she's already attractive. There is this strength in her motion, I think.
Yeah, she's shining in a certain way.
Yes.
And about health, right? Like history is full of people who put on makeup, right? And then there's toxic chemicals in the makeup, and then like people die, or like
oh, did you see those messed up faces after plastic surgery? Like some people don't have kind of capacity to deal with it, and then their face just like gets into weirdest shapes. Then they're like cat people, lizard people, and everything is like
yeah. So it's not always going the way that you think it will. Put yourself first, girl. Worry about yourself. Wear fake eyelids just for yourself. So when dudes see you, put yourself first, they'll be like, damn, you're hot. Let's buy a house in Portland.
No, I really want to check out this magical Portland place. After that, it was like, is Portland something? It's like the best place in the entire USA.
Well, that's a place where all these riots were, right? Like between the Antifa and the Proud Boys and stuff.
So. Okay, I think that song was written before that.
Yeah.
I think the riots started because they advertised Portland and everybody wanted to buy a house there.
All the crazy ex-girlfriends friends went there.
all of them bought house in Portland. It's like it's the same house. But also, what kind of proposal is that? So you see somebody so hot, he wants to buy a house in Portland. It's well, like, damn, you're hot, let's buy a house in Portland. How is that connected?
I think Portland was like this symbol of like, I don't know, want to say progressive, but like hip culture, right? So and buying a house, right? Like it's materialistic, right? It's not like starting a family or starting a life together, right? Or have fun, right? No, it's buy a house, right? So it's pointing at the materialistic aspect, right? Like fake eyelids is also, oh, let's use the material that's not me in order to present myself fake, right? Like it's
When
literally
she does
fake,
this
right?
cow thing on her eyelids, people were like, house in Portland. And like the connection here.
It's
Fakeness.
like oh yeah, you can fan me when you close your eyes, like ooh, cool wind.
Okay. I wonder what are the longest eyelids, the fake ones.
Yeah, so worry about yourself. That's new. I don't really get
It's
it.
like the
I guess it's
first
worry
line.
about how you
They
look.
also had it at the very beginning.
What is it?
See, yes,
Oh
put
yeah,
yourself
yeah,
first goal. Worry about yourself. Make yourself
yeah.
sexy just for yourself. Like it appears here. It's the first time you noticed. You read it. Okay.
Put yourself first for him. That's what you gotta do. Put yourself first for him. If I put myself first for him, then by definition, aren't I putting myself second? So wow, we're including logic now. Jeez.
Yeah, because it's you need to see the video, right? Like she is talking to those girls and they're like convincing this independent woman that she has to take control of her female side. Like she has to be beautiful, like outside, like,
Mm.
and she's like trying to find logic in that. I think the idea behind the song is still okay. The girls just did not present it well enough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but that sentence, "Put yourself first for him." That one, yeah, by definition, is she doing something for him? Is not putting herself first.
So
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this idea of service, right? And when you're serving someone,
Mm-hmm.
you're putting them first, right? Like you're relating to them in a way where you're lifting them up effectively, right? Like you're facilitating them to be what they can be.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take the view, right, like that you as a whole, right, like the two of you being together is better than you being separate, like as individuals,
Mm-hmm.
then by putting the other person, by lifting the other person up, you're also lifting yourself up. And if you're thinking about it emotionally, right, like what you need to do in order to serve someone else, right, like you need to grow emotionally in order to be able to do that, right? So there's a sense that you're providing things to the relationship that will give things
Mm-hmm.
back to you, and you're providing things to yourself as well by being part of the relationship that is actually putting yourself first by serving the other, right? But this is under the condition that that other person wants to be kind of in that relationship, and is appreciative of that.
Don't think about it too hard, too hard. Don't think about too hard. It's a wormhole. It's a Möbius strip. It's a snake its tail. It's infinity sign. So here, here they're deflecting a little bit. So when she thinks, am I putting myself second if I'm doing it for him? And the girls, her advisors would be, we don't want to think about it. We doing it intuitively. So intuitively, they want to do things with the guy for the guy. And when Rebecca thinks about it, she's like, I'm trying to find common ground here. I want to put myself first, but why he's in that equation at all? So she's battling that part. So girls advised her not to think about it at all. A wormhole that can take you places. Möbius strip, snake its tail, I guess, Ouroboros, and the infinity sign. So those big words that girls don't want to think about. Apparently, those girls. So the intelligent one, yes, the intelligent one in that group, the one who asked for the advice, like she's confident about her look. She doesn't need to put fake eyelids. She doesn't wear heels at all because she wants to be comfortable. She doesn't need to push her boobs up because they're enormous. So she's that's her thing, actually. Yeah. So she's okay. Like,
so I see it a little bit differently, right? Like I do think, well, it's obviously that don't think about it too hard means that it's distraction, right? Like it's like stay in the intuition. But I think a wormhole is something that transforms, right? Like it's like
I think it's something that they don't understand. That's the thing. Like they named all of those words, and I don't think they understand them.
Yeah, but they're all pointing at the similar thing. So they're not random big words.
They're pointing at the infinity. That's the
right.
Like the Ouroboros infinity sign, Möbius strip, and the except wormhole. Wormhole is not the infinity.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The other
That's the
three
one.
are.
So the wormhole, the Möbius strip, the snake eating its tail, and the infinity sign. I think they're all pointing back to this idea of like putting the other first and then putting yourself second, and being part of the whole, right? So you're both part of this relation, and through the relation you're also uplifting yourself, and I think that just that's a hidden Easter egg in it.
I mean, when they do it, all of them, Möbius strip, snake eating its tail, infinity sign, wormhole is a little bit different. It takes you somewhere else. But the last three, second and first, do not exist. They're just they're kind of they're harmonized and equal in a sense, right? Like they're completing, maybe not even like in case of in Yan, in case of, it's not here, in case of snake eating its tail, like one doesn't exist without the other. It's not the second and the first. It's they're like parts, two halves of the same kind of idea. And infinity and Möbius strip is the thing that goes on indefinitely. I think the way they structured here, if she will be thinking about it too hard, she will fall through the wormhole of this thought, and she will keep continuously thinking about it. That's what I think.
And I think there's also an element where when you're trying to figure out intuition, right? Like you do get in these loops, right? Like so you do bounce from left to right to left to right. Like that's also definitely in there.
Yeah. So, and here is like again, they're changing her, taking her focus, and they're like, oh, get a tattoo of the infinity sign on your lower back, just for yourself. And here is like logical question, but I can see my lower back. Also fake eyelids, is that a thing now? Yes.
So it is interesting that this tattoo of the infinity sign, right? Like not like that's getting like a whole lot of levels in my head connected, because in some sense it's making it real, but it's also diverging, right? Like it's taking it out of the thought loop, right, and making it practical again. And
I think they got her attention from herself when she went into that thought into a guy again. And they said, if you put a tattoo of the infinity sign on your lower back, he will see it from the back and he will look at it forever. And like it will like forever, again. So they took her away from thoughts into guy again. Like just focus on a guy. That's the main thing here. Although, and the main logic behind that song is that putting herself first would be thinking about the guy and doing stuff for the guy or dudes.
yeah, and the lower back is actually symbolizing that, right? Because like what's your relationship with the lower back? But it's also interesting, right? Because if you put a tattoo there, like you do have awareness that you put the tattoo there, right? Like so you now created this relationship with a part of you that you don't really have a relationship with, and like there's this awkward thing, right? Like can you do that for yourself? Like is that real, or that's a really interesting question, right? Like that. But a lot of people seem to think so, right? Like there's a lot of people that put tattoos on their lower back.
Yeah, they all of them who do that, it's in anticipation of this tattoo being seen from behind. Like that's again, that's making a permanent change on your body so that you can get guys and reappropriate male gaze. It's like I'm hunting. Like each time, like if you do that, it's like I'm hunting. And
yeah, and then the infinity sign is like I'm endlessly hunting. even when I'm in a relationship and I should stop hunting, I'm still hunting.
Yeah, like it's just the guy she's with probably. So it's like he will be endlessly from behind. She will endlessly just turned her back on him. He's like, whatever, anytime they're fighting, and he said, can you forgive me? And she's like, infinity sign at my back. There's my answer.
Endless suffering.
You don't know. It might be endless pleasure. It's from her back.
Yeah, so going back to the fake eyelid, that's her getting sucked into her thinking again, right? Like they lost her at that point. It's like, no, like you guys, like there's too much bullshit going on.
Yeah, but still, is any of that attractive? Like what subconsciously is attractive to a guy? A girl who is like putting all of this show, putting a tattoo on her lower back, putting 6-inch heels, pushing her boobs up, putting fake eyelids, all of that, making herself sexy. Is that attractive to a guy because then he feels like she's hunting him or something? He's valuable?
Well, so the woman that you were talking about, right, putting on the makeup, getting back into the bed, right, like at least that shows her that she's caring, right? Like it's a way that she shows her love for him, right? And then the question is, well, like, do you want her to spend that hour, right? Like is that do you want her to spend an hour to prepare this face and then you go to work, right? Like is that really what you want her to do? So there's a balance there with the put in effort and then the gains, and especially makeup is like, that's the most temporal thing ever, right? Like it's by definition not permanent. So in some sense it's wasted effort, right? But you can also imagine, right? Like I'm all about rituals, right? So if you're sitting there doing the makeup for the other, right? Like maybe that's like a sense of reflection, right? Like I'm now putting in this effort for this other person, and how can I be there in other ways for that person, right? So I can also see a way in which that's actually really healthy, but that's depending on how you relate to it.
I think that looking good, looking healthy is always nourishing for the world. It's giving beauty to the world. It's making the world a better place. When it goes too far, to like beyond beauty into fakeness, and it's not to make the world more beautiful, but it's purely so that dude will find her hot and let's buy a house in Portugal or let's make out. Like it's purely for ego, like to feed girls I don't know, self-esteem, I guess. Then it's sad. This means she doesn't get love in any other way. She has to put, like, imagine every day, each time she comes to a mirror and she knows that she has to put a lot of this stuff on her face in order to be beautiful. Every day she affirms herself that she's ugly. It's breaking her day by day, and I don't know if it will make her first. I think it will make her less, because every day she will do it not for herself but for the guy, which is even worse in my opinion. It's like, just be sexy but for that other person, and when you will get that other person's gaze, like when you will get this other person attention, that's how you make yourself first. So your power is dependent on another person, and this is opposite of the empowerment, I think, actually. Like if she is this artist, let's say, right, and the makeup is expression of her art, and she doesn't do it for to get laid, let's say, to make out and get house important, but she does it because, yeah, today she feels like this and she wants to have a shiny butterfly just glued in here, so she does that, and she goes out and instead of makeup she has this. It's her expression of art, and this one she does for herself. Thinking about Grimes now. it's like
yeah, so
a girl who represents artists for me. She had an interview recently.
When you put on makeup, right, like it's not done when you leave the house, right? Like you still have to put on lipstick, right? Like we all know the scenes about the women going to the bathroom, standing in front of the mirror, right? So there's this upkeep that's also there, right? And then maybe more important is, well, okay, you put on the makeup, right? Like how much time in the rest of the day are you spending thinking about your makeup, right? Because if you're spending time worrying about whether your makeup is still right, or whether you need to do an extra piece of touch up on your lipstick, or you're worrying about whether the other person is seeing you as beautiful, right? Like that's all wasted thinking power that you could use to actually be attractive, right? Like if that's your goal. But like I would say doing something good is better, and I think doing something good makes you attractive as well. But so there's this sad element there, right? That you just get captured, right? Like you become a slave of your makeup, and when you're getting into that territory, right? Like that's just horrible.
I think it also might be everything is very visual at the moment. People try to do things fast, and they do not take time to learn anything about the other person. If the person is attractive, that's about it. Like, let's go, let's say, right? So that's and because of that, in order to get a guy, you have to work on your cover, not on the content of that book, because of the fast pace of our current society.
Yeah, it's like becoming a meme, right? Like you're trying to attract attention because the attention is more valuable than the connection.
Yeah, the connections are really hard to make, and it takes time. So I guess girls go by quantity. So and yeah, if that trend continues as it is, I think it might lead to changes in society that we are not willing to accept yet. Okay. Thank you for your free time, Manuel. I encourage everybody to check out Manuel's podcast. More episodes coming up, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Don't think about it too hard. Too hard. Don't think about it too hard. Too hard.
Okay, you should not read that.